Okay, so have you seen that YouTube video from Drawlikeasir about color theory for artists?
Yeah, it's a good one.
He starts it with this like really cool question about what color a ship's mast is.
Yeah.
And it just kind of shows you how like context can totally change how we see color.
For sure.
That's one of the things I love about art. It just like makes you think about things differently.
It does.
But this deep dive is not going to be some boring art history lecture or anything.
No, not at all.
We're going to like go on this journey through color.
We are. It's going to be
From like the basic building blocks all the way to like these really cool techniques artists use.
And the best part is that, like, this stuff isn't just for artists.
Exactly.
Understanding color can be, like, super useful in all sorts of areas.
Yeah.
Design, marketing, even just, like, appreciating the world around us in a new way.
Totally. Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Okay.
The video breaks color down into 3 core elements:
Okay.
hue, saturation, and value. It's like learning the alphabet before you can, write a novel.
Yeah, you got to have those fundamentals, right?
Totally. And the video does such a good job of like explaining those concepts visually.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like you can really see the difference between, say, like a bright saturated red and a dull desaturated red.
Yeah, it really helps those concepts, like, stick in your brain.
Totally. It's like he's taking these kind of abstract ideas and making them tangible.
Exactly.
So hue is like the pure color itself.
Right.
Like red, blue, yellow, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
Saturation is about like the intensity.
Correct.
How vibrant or like grayed out the color is.
Yeah.
And then value, which deals with like the lightness and darkness.
Okay.
So you can have like a light desaturated blue or dark saturated blue and like everything in between.
Yeah, and it's like a 3-dimensional space where each color exists as this unique combination of the 3.
Oh, that's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of those like 3D color pickers you see in design software.
Yeah.
Where you can adjust each of those elements individually.
Yeah.
And create like millions of different colors.
So like once you understand these building blocks, you can start thinking about like how to combine colors effectively.
Right.
And that's where color harmony schemes come in.
Exactly.
The video covers some like really interesting ones: monochromatic, analogous, complementary, and triads.
And each scheme like evokes a different feeling.
Yeah.
Which he shows really well through examples from his own artwork.
Totally. Like a monochromatic scheme uses like variations of a single color.
Right.
So it can like create a sense of unity and calm.
Like that really pretty mountain landscape he shows.
Yeah.
All in like shades of blue and gray.
Yeah, super peaceful and serene. And then you have analogous schemes which use colors that are like next to each other on the color wheel.
Like, remember that funny bit where he compares analogous to Among Us?
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Even color theory can be, like, lighthearted.
Right. It's a good way to remember it, too, for sure.
Yeah. And those often create a sense of harmony and flow.
Yeah, like those beautiful sunset paintings with blends of orange, yellow, and red.
Exactly. But then you have complementary schemes, which are all about contrast.
Okay.
Using colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel.
So like red and green or blue and orange.
Exactly. They create a lot of visual energy and excitement.
Yeah.
And he talks about how to use complementary colors effectively
Yeah.
without making it look like, a kid's birthday party.
Right.
It's all about finding the right balance and intensity.
It's like a dance between colors.
It is.
You want them to like complement each other, not clash.
Exactly.
Okay, now here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
We start to see how much more there is to color than like meets the eye.
Right.
Color context.
Color context.
And the video uses this awesome example of how skin tones can look completely different depending on the surrounding colors.
Oh, yeah, that one blew my mind.
Yeah. It reminds me of those optical illusions where the same color square looks different depending on the background.
Yeah, totally.
So this concept of color relativity is basically saying that like our brains don't see color in isolation.
Right.
We see it in relation to its surroundings.
Exactly. And that has huge implications for like artists, designers, anyone working with color.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like you can't just choose colors based on how they look individually.
Right.
You have to consider how they're going to interact with each other within the like overall composition.
It's like putting together a puzzle.
Yeah.
Where each piece has to fit perfectly with the others.
Exactly.
And the video gives this great tip based on this idea.
Okay.
Color the entire artwork before you judge the skin tones.
That way you can see how the skin tones are interacting with the background and adjust accordingly.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah. Such a practical takeaway. I think even, like, seasoned artists could benefit from that.
Totally. And this whole idea of context ties in perfectly with another technique that the video explores.
Okay, which one?
Aerial perspective.
Oh, aerial perspective. Cool.
This one's all about like creating depth and realism in landscapes
Right.
by using color to simulate how our atmosphere affects how we see things in the distance.
Yeah. Super cool how it blends, like, science and art.
It really is. It's like those majestic mountain ranges where the peaks in the distance appear bluer and like less saturated than the ones closer to us.
Yes.
It just adds this incredible sense of depth and grandeur.
Totally. And he does a great job of breaking down, like, why this happens,
Yeah.
explaining how air particles scatter light.
Right.
And the shorter blue wavelengths are, like, more easily dispersed.
Okay.
Which is why those distant objects tend to have that, like, bluish haze.
It's like a natural filter almost.
It is.
That creates this like beautiful gradient of colors, making the landscape feel more vast and immersive.
Totally, totally.
And he even applies that concept to characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like if a character's in a forest, their colors might be like slightly tinted green.
Right.
Because of the light filtering through the leaves.
It's all about creating that sense of visual harmony.
Yeah.
Making those, like, subtle adjustments that really bring the whole scene together.
And it all comes back to that initial example of the blue ship mast.
Oh, yeah. Remember?
Remember how jarring it looked when it was isolated?
It was, yeah.
But in the full artwork, it blends in perfectly with like the blue sky and the blue water.
It just works.
It does.
It's a powerful reminder that, like, color choices should never be made in a vacuum.
Right.
It's all about how each color relates to the overall composition
Yeah.
and the mood you're trying to create.
Which is why he emphasizes planning your color palette beforehand.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
Like thinking about the big picture before you like dive into the details.
For sure. And he even provides a cheat sheet to help you remember those basics.
He does. It's like a condensed version of everything we've talked about so far.
It is a great starting point for anyone who, you know, wants to explore these concepts further.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And speaking of exploring further, the video touches on like some other fascinating areas.
Okay, like what?
Like the different types of color palettes.
Oh, yeah.
Warm, cool, muted, vibrant.
Right.
And how they can be used to evoke specific emotions and tell stories.
It's like he's opening a door to this whole new world of possibilities,
Yeah.
inviting us to, like, dive deeper into the fascinating world of color theory.
And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next part of our deep dive.
We are.
We'll like delve deeper into those emotional aspects of color.
Yeah.
And we'll even explore how these principles are applied in different fields, like design and marketing.
That would be cool.
So get ready for a colorful journey.
I am. I'm excited.
So we've got like the building blocks of color and those color harmony schemes down.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's dig into how artists and designers actually like use these tools, you know, to create a specific mood or even like tell a story with color.
Yeah.
Watching that video, it made me think about like, it's kind of like learning to play an instrument, you know?
Uh-huh.
You got to understand the notes and the scales first before you can write a whole symphony.
That's a great analogy. Just like a musician uses different combinations of notes to, you know, create a melody.
Yeah.
An artist can use different colors to evoke certain emotions or even, like, guide the viewer's eye where they want them to look.
Exactly. And the video talks about how different color palettes, like warm, cool, muted, vibrant, can have a huge impact on like the whole feeling of a piece of art.
For sure.
It made me think about those, you know, like classic landscape paintings with like the earthy browns and greens.
Yeah.
So calming and serene.
Uh-huh.
But then you see like a vibrant abstract painting with bold reds and yellows, and it's like, whoa, totally different energy.
Yeah.
It's more dynamic and exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, how those choices can totally transform our perception of a scene.
Yeah.
Like, think about how filmmakers will use color grading to set the mood in a movie.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Like a dark and gritty thriller might use a desaturated palette, you know, with lots of, like, blues and grays to create a sense of unease.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a romantic comedy might use a warm, vibrant palette
Oh, yeah.
with, like, lots of pinks and yellows.
Yeah.
To give you that feeling of, like, joy and lightheartedness.
It's like those color palettes are like setting the stage for the entire story.
Right.
And the video mentions, I think it was color scripts in animation,
Yes.
which basically like visual guides that map out the dominant colors and lighting for each scene.
Right, to help create like a consistent emotional arc throughout the film.
So it's not just like picking colors randomly.
Yeah.
It's about using them strategically to like support the narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought this tied in really well with another point the video makes about like the challenge of creating art that actually stands out, in today's world.
Oh, yeah.
Like we are bombarded with so much visual content every day.
It's true. We're constantly scrolling through, social media feeds, websites,
Right.
and like our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
So how do you make something that actually like captures people's attention?
Exactly. Makes them want to pause and like take a closer look.
Yeah, for sure.
And he talks about the importance of developing like a unique style.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finding your own voice within all the noise.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
And I think color can play a huge role in that, right?
Definitely.
Like if you understand how to use color effectively, not just like following trends, but like really thinking about how colors work together, how they impact the viewer, you can create something truly memorable.
Yeah, exactly. It's like finding your signature sound as a musician.
Hmm.
You can be inspired by others, but ultimately you need to develop your own like unique way of using those tools
Yeah.
to create something new and original.
Right. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things about learning about color theory.
Yeah.
It gives you like the power to express yourself
Yeah.
in a way that's truly your own.
Yeah. It's like unlocking a secret language,
It is. Yeah.
that lets you communicate not just with words, but with like colors and emotions.
Yeah. And it's not just about creating art for like galleries or museums or anything like that.
Mhm.
This is knowledge you can use in so many different areas of life.
For sure. Like think about interior design.
Oh, yeah.
How you can use color to create a certain mood in your home,
Mm-hmm.
or graphic design.
Right.
How you use color to make a website like more engaging or a logo more memorable.
Totally.
Even in fashion,
Mm-hmm.
Understanding color can help you choose outfits that like flatter your skin tone or express your personality.
It's like color's this like invisible force
Mhm.
that's shaping our perceptions and influencing our choices all the time.
Yeah.
Whether we realize it or not.
Right. And the more we like understand how it works, the more control we have over how we use it.
Exactly. Okay, so let's say you're like designing a website for a company that sells organic skincare products.
Okay.
What kind of color palette would you choose to like create that sense of naturalness and tranquility?
Well, I'd probably start with like a base of earthy greens and browns,
Okay, yeah.
Maybe some soft blues and creams to evoke a sense of like calm and serenity.
I like that.
And then I might add in a few pops of like brighter colors,
Okay.
maybe a touch of yellow or orange to represent like the vibrancy of nature and the energy of the brand.
I love how you think about like the psychology of color and how it connects to the brand's message.
Yeah.
It's not just about choosing colors that like look pretty together.
Right.
It's about choosing colors
Yeah.
that like actually communicate something meaningful.
Yes. And it's also about finding that like sweet spot between harmony and contrast,
Yeah.
You don't want everything to be too matchy-matchy,
Right.
but you also don't want it to feel like chaotic and overwhelming.
Right. It's like finding that perfect balance between like order and chaos, kind of like nature itself.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to one of those fundamental concepts we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Color context.
Color context.
Remember how like one color can look completely different depending on what's around it?
Yeah, totally.
Well, that principle applies to like entire color palettes as well.
It does, yeah.
So like that earthy green that looks so calming next to a soft blue might feel totally different next to a bright red.
Exactly. So it's important to always think about the overall context when you're choosing colors.
Right.
Like what mood are you going for? What message are you trying to convey?
Yeah.
And how can you use color to like achieve those goals?
It's like you're painting a picture with colors,
Yeah,
but you're also like composing a symphony with emotions at the same time.
exactly. And understanding those like subtle nuances, that's what takes you from being a like color beginner to a true color master.
Totally.
Oh.
So as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, what's like one key takeaway you want listeners to remember about applying color theory, in real life?
I think the most important thing is to be observant.
Okay.
Just like pay attention to how color is being used in the world around you.
Yeah.
Notice how different colors make you feel, how they affect your mood, how they like influence your perceptions.
Yeah.
And once you start seeing color with a more like conscious eye, I think you'll be amazed at how much it impacts your everyday life.
It's true. It's funny, like after spending all this time talking about color theory, I've started to like notice it everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like even just walking down the street, like the way shops use color in their window displays.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's like they're trying to like draw you in with color.
Yeah.
Create a certain atmosphere even before you like step inside.
Right. And it's not just shops. It's like restaurants, offices, even hospitals.
Yeah.
Like the use of color can completely change how we experience a space.
Oh, for sure.
Like, wouldn't you feel more at ease in like a doctor's office that had calming blues and greens as opposed to like harsh reds and oranges?
Oh, absolutely.
Like I remember reading somewhere that certain shades of blue can actually lower blood pressure.
Yeah. There's a whole field of study called like color psychology.
Right.
That looks at how color affects our mood, our behavior, even our physical well-being.
Wow.
Like some hospitals are even using color therapy to help patients like heal faster.
Wow.
And feel more comfortable.
That's incredible.
Oh.
It really shows like how powerful color can be.
Yeah.
It's not just aesthetics. It's like a language that speaks to us on a subconscious level.
Yeah, I think that's what makes like learning about color theory so valuable.
Right.
It gives you this awareness of how color is being used to like influence you. Whether you're looking at a painting, browsing a website, even just, walking down the street.
It makes you think about the choices people make too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why did they paint that building that specific shade of green?
Yeah.
Or why did that company choose that specific blue for their logo? Like, there's often a lot more thought behind those decisions than we realize.
Yeah, there is. And like a lot of it comes down to branding and marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Companies spend like millions of dollars researching color palettes that'll resonate with their target audience.
Wow.
Evoke certain emotions and ultimately like make them want to buy their product.
It's like those fast food chains.
Yeah.
With the bright reds and yellows.
Yes.
Like they're not just trying to look pretty, they're trying to trigger like those feelings of hunger and excitement.
Exactly.
That make you want to like eat a burger and fries.
Yeah, yeah. But it can be more subtle too.
Okay.
Think about those like high-end fashion brands that use lots of black and white in their advertising.
Right.
They're not just trying to be minimalist. They're creating a sense of like luxury and sophistication.
It's like they're saying our products are timeless, classic, exclusive.
Great.
And we as consumers are like picking up on those messages without even realizing it.
Yeah, it's fascinating, but it is like a little bit scary when you think about how much our choices are being influenced,
Yeah.
by color.
So it's like important to be aware of those influences and to kind of like develop your own sense of what colors you respond to best.
Totally. Like, don't just follow trends blindly.
Right.
Experiment and find like what works for you.
Yeah. If you're drawn to vibrant colors, embrace that.
Yeah.
If you prefer more muted tones, that's okay too.
Exactly.
There's no right or wrong answer. It's like personal preference. And speaking of like self-expression, I think the video did a really good job of showing how color can be used to communicate emotions and tell stories.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, think about how those Renaissance painters used color to create these dramatic scenes,
Yeah.
full of light and shadow.
Yeah, yeah.
Or how the Impressionists used color to capture, like, those fleeting moments of light and atmosphere.
Or even like how modern graphic novelists use color to like set the mood and convey emotion in their work.
Exactly. It's like color adds another layer of meaning, another way to like connect with the audience on a deeper level.
Right, right. And it's not just about like fine art or anything. Look about like everyday objects.
Yeah.
Clothing, cars, even furniture. Like the colors we choose for those things often reflect our personality, our mood, even how we want other people to see us.
Right, like our personal color palette is constantly evolving.
Just like we are.
Yeah. And learning about color theory gives you the tools to like make more conscious choices about that palette.
Totally. Whether you're creating art, designing a website, even just like picking out an outfit for the day.
It's about empowering yourself to use color in a way that's both meaningful and like authentic to who you are.
So I guess as we wrap up this whole deep dive into the world of color, like what's the one thing you want listeners to take away from this conversation?
I think the biggest takeaway is like color is this powerful language that surrounds us every day.
It does.
It influences our emotions, our perceptions, our decisions.
Yeah.
But it's not just something that, like, happens to us. We can learn to understand that language. We can speak it fluently.
Yeah.
And we can use it to create beauty, meaning, and connection in our lives.
That's beautiful. That, like, perfectly encapsulates everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
It's not just about, like, learning technical terms, memorizing color wheels or whatever.
Right.
It's about, like, opening our eyes to the, like, wonder and power of color.
Yeah.
And, like, embracing its potential to enrich our lives in, like, countless ways.
And as we go about our day,
Yeah.
let's pay attention to the colors around us, notice how they make us feel, and appreciate, like, the artistry and intentionality behind them.
Right.
Because, I mean, the world's a much more vibrant and fascinating place
It is.
when we understand the language of color.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us on this colorful journey. And remember, keep those color wheels spinning.
Yeah, keep them spinning.